The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, each drop a painful reminder of the storm raging inside me. My name is Silas, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all: a loving wife, a comfortable home, and a fulfilling career as a software developer. I was 43 and life felt good. Naive, wasn't I? It all started subtly. Gemma, my wife of 15 years, a talented freelance graphic designer, began working longer hours. She attributed it to a new client, a big project that could really boost her career. I was thrilled for her, supportive as always. I made dinners, did extra chores, anything to help her succeed. Looking back, the signs were there, glaringly obvious. The late-night phone calls she took in the hallway, her guarded responses when I asked about her day, the way she flinched when I touched her. But I was so blinded by love, so trusting, that I dismissed them all. Then came the business trip. Gemma was supposedly heading to a conference in Portland for 3 days. I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, and told her to have a great time. That night I felt a pang of loneliness, a strange unease that I couldn't shake off. I decided to surprise her by cleaning out her car, a task she'd been putting off for weeks. That's when I found it. Tucked under the passenger seat, hidden beneath a pile of old magazines, was a receipt. A receipt for a romantic dinner at a restaurant in Seattle. The date. Last night, my heart lurched. It couldn't be. There had to be a mistake. Maybe it was an old receipt, something she'd forgotten to throw away. I drove to the restaurant, my hands shaking, my mind racing. I showed the receipt to the hostess, a young woman with kind eyes. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I found this receipt in my wife's car. I was just wondering if you remember who might have used it." She studied the receipt for a moment, then her eyes met mine. "Oh yes," she said, a hint of sadness in her voice. "I remember that couple. They were very affectionate. The man was quite handsome." She described him perfectly: tall, dark hair, wearing a blue blazer. Not me. My world tilted on its axis. Gemma wasn't in Portland. She was here in Seattle, having a romantic dinner with another man. I stumbled out of the restaurant, the rain now feeling like icy needles on my skin. I drove home in a daze, my mind reeling. I couldn't confront her over the phone. I needed to see her face, to hear her explanation. I waited, pacing the living room like a caged animal, until she finally walked through the door, her face flushed, her eyes bright. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "How was the conference?" I asked, my voice flat. She launched into a detailed account of the conference, the speakers, the workshops, the networking events. I listened in silence, my anger building with each lie. When she finally finished, I held out the receipt. Her face paled. "What's this?" she stammered. "Don't play dumb, Gemma," I said, my voice trembling. "I know you weren't in Portland. I know you were here having dinner with another man." She burst into tears. "Silas, I can explain," she sobbed. "Explain what? Explain how you could lie to me. Explain how you could betray me like this." The truth came spilling out, a torrent of excuses and justifications. His name was Leon, a client she'd been working with for several months. She claimed it started as a harmless friendship, a connection based on shared interests and creative ideas. But then, she said, things got complicated. They started spending more time together, working late, grabbing drinks after work. One thing led to another, and they crossed the line. "It was a mistake, Silas," she pleaded. "A stupid, impulsive mistake. I swear it didn't mean anything. But it did mean something. It meant that everything I thought I knew about our marriage, about our love, was a lie." I spent the next few days in a fog of anger and disbelief. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I could barely function. I replayed every moment of our relationship in my head, searching for clues I had missed, for signs of her unhappiness. I confronted Leon, a smug, arrogant man who seemed to take pride in what he'd done. He offered a pathetic apology, claiming he couldn't help himself, that Gemma was irresistible. I wanted to punch him, to wipe the smirk off his face, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. The damage was done. The trust was broken. Our marriage was over. I consulted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Mallory, who helped me navigate the legal complexities of divorce. Gemma begged me to reconsider, promising to end the affair, to go to therapy, to do anything to save our marriage. But I couldn't. The thought of touching her, of being intimate with her, made me sick. The image of her with Leon was seared into my brain, a constant reminder of her betrayal. The divorce was messy and painful. There were arguments over assets, accusations, and counter-accusations, but eventually it was finalized. I moved out of our house, the house we had built together, the house filled with memories, both good and bad. I found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood, a place where I could start over. I threw myself into my work, working long hours, losing myself in lines of code. It was a temporary distraction, a way to numb the pain. But eventually I knew I had to face my emotions, to deal with the anger and the hurt. I started seeing a therapist, a kind, compassionate woman named Ingrid, who helped me process my feelings, to understand what had happened, and to forgive myself for not seeing the signs. It was a long and difficult process, but slowly, gradually, I began to heal. I realized that Gemma's betrayal was not a reflection of me, but of her own insecurities and flaws. I learned that I deserved better, that I deserved to be with someone who loved and respected me, someone who was honest and loyal. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering, my heart pounding in my chest. It was Gemma. Her voice was weak and trembling. She told me that Leon had left her, that he had moved on to another woman. She was alone, penniless, and desperate. She asked for my help. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, a flicker of the love I had once felt so deeply. But I also knew that I couldn't go back. I couldn't be her safety net, her backup plan. "I'm sorry, Gemma," I said, my voice firm but gentle. "I can't help you. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the consequences." I hung up the phone, my hand shaking. I knew I had done the right thing, but it didn't make it any easier. The rain continued to fall outside, but now it didn't feel so oppressive. The storm inside me had finally begun to subside. I was still hurting, still healing, but I was also stronger, wiser, and more resilient. I had survived the betrayal, and I was ready to move on with my life. I knew that one day I would find love again, a love that was true and lasting. But for now, I was content to be alone, to focus on myself, and to build a future filled with hope and happiness. The scars of Gemma's betrayal would always be there, a reminder of the pain I had endured. But they would also be a reminder of my strength, my courage, and my ability to overcome adversity. I was Silas, and I was a survivor.